Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 8th episode of MAME Politics. I have a very special guest with me today, my wife, Lori Kirchner.
Hi.
You ready to play some Streets of Rage 2?
Yeah, that's all I came here for, but you're going to make me talk about politics too, so
I'm going to
I'm
make
ready.
you talk about politics. So tell us about your history with Streets of Rage.
Oh, I played it as a kid. I didn't have a Genesis, but my neighbor across the street did, so I played the shit out of Streets of Rage, all 3 of them, I guess, and I don't know. I didn't really realize, I didn't know enough about Treasure. Like, it's made by Treasure, right? Like that's
No.
No?
No.
Shit. Well, we should just end the stream now.
No, it's not made by Treasure, but
No, it's a Sega game. So I just remember playing that a lot as a kid. And when we first started dating, you got me a Sega Genesis and a shit ton of games. And I think it took that long for it to be like supplanted by Gunstar Heroes. Is probably one of my favorite games.
yeah, see, she has good taste in games. If you haven't played Gunstar Heroes, it is definitely one of the best Sega Genesis games. You used to be able to find it in a lot of used bins, or not even used bins, like discount bins. I remember Tony, my best friend growing up, actually found it in a discount bin of Toys R Us, a new copy of it for like $15.99, something like the mid '90s. So at that time, Genesis had already sort of, gone on the decline.
Yeah.
32-bit game systems, but yeah, definitely Gunstar Heroes at some point we're going to play on this stream, but it's going to go outside of the realm of the framework of it for now, because right now we're sticking to arcade games. So this one's already a little bit of a cheat because it was released for home consoles first. Streets of Rage 2 is a console beat 'em up made by Sega, but apparently Sega actually made arcade machines with
Yeah.
Mega Drive hardware inside of it.
Well,
So
I asked for this game, and you said that's not on the arcade.
I was
thing.
like, no, that's against the rules. But then we looked on the Pandora's box and we were like, wait, it has Streets of Rage 2 on here. And then I looked into it, and so this is an actual Mega Drive, which in case you don't know, Mega Drive is the name of the Genesis in Japan, and I think also in Europe. It was only called the Genesis here in the States. It has the same hardware essentially running inside of an arcade cabinet. And I think Nintendo also did the same thing. They had Super Mario Brothers arcade machines and a few others like Excite Bike and things like that, which were basically just NES hardware on a board. So if you open this arcade machine up, you're not going to find a Sega Genesis sitting in there with a cartridge in it. You're going to find like a board that's essentially the Sega Mega Drive on the board. So just some backstory for you guys, if you're interested in any of that bullshit. So yeah, there was one or two subjects we wanted to focus on today. The first thing we wanted to talk about is this. You putting credits in the machine?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to actually hop over to the chat first because I always like to get your guys' feedback before we get started on these. Give me a second. Okay. So it always starts out a little bit rinky-dink. I appreciate your patience. So hi, everybody. Hi, John. How's it going?
Hey, John.
Alan Dershowitz. Someone just mentioned Alan Dershowitz. Yeah, in case you didn't see it, just in case you don't know how well the developments are going in Trump's legal defense team right now, he just hired Ken Starr and Alan Dershowitz officially to head up his legal defense strategy. And Alan Dershowitz, I guess, thought it was a good idea for one of his first media appearances since doing this was to appear on the Anthony Cumia show. Anthony Cumia started out the episode by asking him about his kid fucking allegations. So literally the Anthony Cumia...
Well, it's something they have in common. They got to find some common ground, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and in case you don't know this backstory, former Sirius XM host Anthony Cumia, who was fired for going on a racist tirade, who John Gold in this chat actually went on their show years and years ago when Anthony Cumia was virulently anti-truther. But in case you didn't know this, Anthony Cumia was actually caught and outed by the Reddit Opie and Anthony subreddit for trying to groom a 14-year-old girl by buying her toys online. Now, it turned out that this 14-year-old girl was actually a 40-year-old man pretending to be a 14-year-old girl.
That makes it so much hotter, but...
So all these text messages got leaked. Nobody really went after Cumia for it, and now it's just sort of a running joke in the comedy scene that he is a pedophile. And so that's where things stand now. But Um, so yeah, so Lori had this story that she read yesterday that I thought would sort of start a discussion among the chat, and we're going to be discussing it for about half of the episode. But why don't you tell us about this story that happened in the New York, or that broke
Oh,
in the New York
it was
Times?
early this morning, I think, that I read it. The New York Times has a great article. It's like the selective naivete of the New York Times. Oh, you want to come up here? Um, yeah. So this company Clearview AI, they really do send this narrative through the entire piece. It's about facial recognition software, and how it's just just some guy was just trying to figure out some apps to make, like, and he just settled on this. Scraping all available faces from any publicly available content, regardless of the terms of service for the content providers, and it fed it all into like a sort of a neural net and turned it into vectors, so that you could basically, in essence, like the ultimate application of this technology could be used in like augmented reality glasses, where you walk down the street and you're like the Terminator. You can see exactly who you're looking at, like on the subway or wherever you are. So it's basically been sold to law enforcement, and law enforcement doesn't even know how it works. And this journalist did a really clever thing, despite the way that this whole story is kind of portrayed as just like, what are we gonna do about this thing that already is deeply embedded in like law enforcement practices now, because it's been around for a minute. It was interesting to me that the journalist himself, like, he couldn't get the company to return his calls, so he gave his photograph to like all these different law enforcement people who had access to it and had them run it through the database. And then the actual company contacted law enforcement and said, "Oh, we understand you guys are being contacted by the media and you're interacting with the media." So it's just like this feedback cycle of like, you don't even know how much the company is surveilling your own use of the technology. And this is, law enforcement just sort of quietly adopts this. And there's even quotes that are just kind of made my eyes bug out about like, well, you can't make laws against technology. And I just think it's really shocking and chilling in this day and age to have like an article come out with such a kind of like blasé questions, like, what does this mean for society? It might just be the end of privacy forever. And it just doesn't really have like much of an opinion or even get into how the software works. It's just so surface level. And it was just something that I was completely unaware of. And I'm currently reading a book that some people have probably heard of, came out like a year or two ago, called Weapons of Math Destruction, about how we've started to rely on big data and these neural nets, that these algorithms that we don't really know firsthand what goes into them, and they determine whether or not we get good assessments at our jobs, how our entire experience on our smart devices now is all like algorithmically served to us. And it's just something that like we're so far behind having like any awareness of it. It's pretty much already a runaway fucking train, and I just thought it was shocking, so I sent it to you. And
Yeah, I didn't actually get a chance to read the article yet, but you told me about it beautifully. You explained the whole thing, broke it all down, and I think there's multiple things going on there. So what's interesting to me about first thing that's interesting to me about that article is that this company was actually so opaque about their way that their facial recognition software operated that this journalist had the clever idea to actually contact law enforcement agencies, and eventually one of them let this journalist run his own face through their software, because the company itself won't even let talk to the journalist.
yeah, if I
So
wanted to go out and buy this product, it's like just to set up like a POS register at like a store. The reason why everybody uses Squarespace, or I mean, sorry, not Squarespace, but like Square, that card processor, is that they're cheap. Like a POS just to run people's credit cards, like a normal store, costs like anywhere between 20 grand or 100 grand to set up. So like, this is enterprise technology that is not really available or like in the realm of possibility for like most citizens to obtain. But you've got Peter Thiel backing this like startup, and it's in the technology sector, and people just think it's innovation, and they think, well, we could apply it to anything. But who really has the money for it and who really wants to apply it ends up being basically law enforcement, because the ultimate goal is just like we all live in a panopticon, whether we're in trouble or not.
yeah, it's really creepy to me that they would reach out to law enforcement and basically tell them to stop talking to this journalist. Or, I mean, it's not just the specific journalist. They probably wanted them to stop talking to any journalist. Literally, right? I mean,
Well, it just seems as though they weren't really interested in probably boosting the awareness of like this company even existing. It's like this technology doesn't really have to be mainstreamed or approved on like by the populace. It's just sort of like just secretly goes into how law enforcement does things, and then it just becomes, I don't know, I guess it just harkens back to like all that military technology at the beginning of this century in our post 9/11 world, just kind of like, well shit, we made so many sound weapons and paramilitary vehicles. We don't know what to do with them, so we might as well just like lease them to cops for like $0 just to have a place to store them for 10 years, just in case they need to do massive crowd control, in case there's civil unrest.
yeah, I mean that's the scary thing about this, and this is a topic I've been raising on previous episodes of this show. Is what would the conspiracy movement be saying right now about the situation in this country if they weren't so pro-Trump? I mean, I think during Obama seemed like the conspiracy movement, and even not, let's just separate the conspiracy movement now, but just like
Privacy.
concerned people
Yeah,
were
privacy
worried.
advocacy.
Yeah, we're worried about where the Obama administration was taking this country, the direction it was taking us in. Cops or police departments all over the country being given by Homeland Security Stingray units, or that you can even purchase them on the open market. If you or I, Lori, wanted to purchase a Stingray unit right now, apparently it's very easy to do. And what a Stingray unit allows you to do is it allows you to warrantlessly wiretap people's real-time cell phone communications if you're within range of them.
How does that even work? Like, is the device itself legal for a private person to own, but like
No.
the application of the device is illegal? Because I don't see how that would be. Obviously, it's ethically just completely a nightmare. But
Yeah.
like, how am I legally allowed to put a Stingray in my home or my business and just collect all of the communications of like everybody in that vicinity at all?
Well, I mean, I think even more concerning, not just private citizens, but police departments all have them. So they don't even have to worry about, having a warrant to tap someone's cell phone anymore. They could probably establish, if they suspect someone, they could probably create, using some kind of legal loophole, probable cause, and find out evidence just from surveilling people's phone calls, sort of off the books. I don't really know how it's being done. There's been plenty of stories written about it, different police departments using stingrays. But yeah, I mean, this whole idea of facial recognition is clearly getting worse and worse at an exponential rate. And by worse, I mean just more privacy invasive and eroding our civil liberties. Just look at the Google Deep Dream algorithms and the way that those have grown just over the past 4 or 5 years. You can now actually generate a real-time video of someone else's face using a still frame, just a still picture of someone's face. And also, there's interesting sort of pushback to this too, where there are now, and they call it GAN, and I don't actually know what the acronym stands for, but there's a website called This Face Does Not Exist, which is just constantly generating, using these algorithms, faces of people that don't exist that look completely convincing. So there appears to be some ability to trick or to sort of fuck with the technology of facial recognition with this. But I think for the most part, we're pretty screwed. I mean, someone just mentioned in this chat, letting the market regulate itself equals fascism. I mean, we are already really, really deep into that. I mean, the market should have been regulated by some kind of government agency or some kind of watchdog group 2 decades ago. I mean, Google, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all these companies had virtually no regulation. I mean, especially Google. It's kind of too late at this point to do anything about it. Unless, you have like a president or someone comes into the executive office who's ready to basically just throw the hammer down on these companies specifically. And I just can't see that happening, even if Bernie got in office.
Well, the orientation away, like you can't expect the government to regulate emergent technology because that would involve employing the brightest minds to, deeply understand things and then figure out the knock-on effects down the line and then act in the best interests of the populace. And that's not really what our government is about. It's not really how bureaucracy works in America or anywhere. It's like a pipe dream. For anybody to say that is just kind of, it would be nice, but the whole world would probably be a better place if things worked like that, or if people were concerned about their privacy. Like, just thinking back to like the beheading hoax, which I was effectively like lead camera person and knife wielder, makeup artist. Like, basically, like, the FBI was calling us, asking us where the hell we were, and we were on the bridge already driving to Ben's apartment where the FBI was. And I just imagine, like, today, like, how much more quickly they would have found us, and like they would have been at our house. Like, they would have, I have no idea like what would have happened basically at that point, but I'm sure that our entire like digital footprint would have been like dissected and analyzed and broken down for like any opportunity to throw any part of the book at us.
I think in a way we were lucky for getting entangled in that in 2004, even though it was during the Bush era where John Ashcroft was was the Attorney General, which is a really scary era. I mean, let's not deny that, but the fact that 2004 we were sort of on the cusp of all this horrific private surveillance grid stuff and data collection and data mining.
And that reminds me, this fucking article, can I swear on this? Sorry.
Of course.
Okay, this fucking article,
Yes,
Jesus Christ, this is terrifying. Basically, it pulls like a 2011 quote from Google saying Google's leadership was like, we're not going to use facial recognition technology because that would be, terrible. Like, we could develop it and use it, but we're not going to use it because we,
we don't want to be evil.
We don't want to be evil.
Yeah.
Like, that's our fucking charter. So, like, that's a quote from 2011. I have no idea what kind of, like, secretive Google projects are currently in the works. And, the way that people have gotten ever more savvy at, like, marketing the application for this as sort of like for the betterment of people, or how it will make things more convenient, Internet of Things style.
Someone said Bezos installed anal recognition software in the cloud.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah. The cloud is up all of our assholes, so that makes sense.
ACatch22 says GAN equals Generative Adversarial Network. Thanks for breaking apart that acronym for us.
I looked that up too, and I didn't understand what that adversarial.
Yeah, I don't. I don't understand what that means either. So someone else also asked what MAME stood for. In case you're
that
new,
one.
New, I actually didn't. I had to look it up. I knew part of it. So it actually stands for Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator, and it's probably the most impressive overall emulation effort ever done by any programmers, because its goal is to basically emulate every arcade machine and hardware ever released. And if you aren't already familiar with arcade machines, there's so many different hardware structures and systems in arcade machines. So they're basically emulating hundreds of different pieces of hardware. So
truly open source concepts.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive effort. And again, the Pandora's box system that we're using to play these on is running off a Raspberry Pi, so we are limited by the power of the processor on there. I mean, we can't even run a legit Mortal Kombat 2, which is a bummer. But today we're going to play for you Streets of Rage 2. And what do you got going on there? Yeah, it's funny how YouTube, I guess I'm just realizing this, and anytime you swear in the YouTube chat, it automatically hides your comment, and I have to deliberately click them. And I'm not trying to discourage you guys from swearing. I just might not have a chance to go through and unhide and show all those comments. So I think until I manually click show, they don't appear. So just keep that in mind when you're chatting. I'm totally fine with it. So we're pumping the system up with credits. So here we go.
I want to play.
Let me know if this is too loud for you guys. Let's go for it. Oh, there's a dual mode? Has anyone played the dual mode in Streets of Rage? Is it just two players versus each other? So you're picking Blaze Fielding?
Of course I'm picking Blaze Fielding.
Who's the most balanced character in the game?
Yeah. And I can do this. Yeah, anyway, privacy, it's gone. I miss it.
Oh no, we're on that mode. Yeah, see, on the arcade version of this game, you can't turn off B mode, which is notoriously the mode where you can beat each other up. and it fucks you up when pretty much fighting any boss character.
It really fucked me up in Double Dragon too.
Oh yeah, Double Dragon. Whoa, what did you just do? Is that your special move?
No, I guess so.
So you don't, there's no...
It's like a mini little Hadoken thing. Oh, sorry, bro.
Motherfucker.
He's beyond the border. I couldn't get to him until he moved down.
So is this supposed to be a child that we're bringing along to this battle who's on roller skates? Or is he just a small person?
That's you.
I know. I know it's me.
No, you're just skinny. Well, it's because when
Are you sure you're just skinny, or are you supposed to be...
Let go of me, asshole.
Are you supposed to be a kid, though? Or like a Spud Webb-sized man?
I feel like, based on how hot I am, I must be like a teen. So you, I don't know. You might be my age, but just still a little behind. I don't know. So, oh wow.
So, someone did this recently, a fun mod of this game where it's a mixture between Turtles in Time and Streets of Rage, where you're basically playing on all the Streets of Rage levels as any of the 4 turtles. I mean, not the most exciting mod in the world, but it runs pretty flawlessly. And Lori and I actually, before we picked up a Switch recently, but before that we started playing a game called, what was it called? Was it called Super Mario Brother Adventure? That ROM hack?
Oh, ooh, that one was good.
Yeah, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but if I
We should
remember
play that
for you
shit.
guys.
We should have an all ROM home system version. Oh, damn it.
There was a really good Super Mario Brothers 3 ROM hack mod that was done using the original Nintendo ROM that's absolutely incredible. It's basically a new game. It has new power-ups, new enemies, new puzzles, new levels. It's amazing. So once I remember that name of that... What the fuck?
Way to go.
So wait, we can do like a thing where we can play off of each other, it looks like.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you can hold somebody who's not me, I can punch them.
No, but besides that, it looks like I can like cartwheel off you. Like that, like I can do that to you.
And I can do it to you.
No, to cartwheel off each other. You can cartwheel, it looks like you can cartwheel off each other and do like special attacks to hurt other enemies somehow.
Oh, shit.
Wait, so there is just a button just for the special attack?
Yeah.
Okay. So, shittiest thing about almost all beat-em-up games, and this is a pet peeve of mine that I've mentioned several times, is that the special attacks always take fucking life off your life bar. So why even use them?
Because it's in the middle button.
Yeah.
Although I really like the home edition Streets of Rage special move where it goes all the way back to the beginning of the level and like the.
Isn't that only
is
on
it like
Streets
a
of Rage
cop
1
car?
though? Isn't that only on part 1?
Might be. That's so pleasurable though. It's just so much fun. Even when you accidentally do it, you feel like.
Bobo's Big Adventure. Cat22 says, yes, Bobo's Big Adventure is a cool game. I haven't actually played it myself, but I don't think it's a ROM hack. I think it's just using all the sprites. It's a sprite-ripped game in a retro style. The music here is awesome. I mean, music in Streets of Rage 2 is one of the coolest things about it, I think. Although someone did a really...
Oh, no. Oh, what?
Didn't that happen last time we tried to play this?
God damn it.
Didn't this happen?
I mean, maybe
so
the ROM's
let's
corrupt.
let them see the crash just for fun. It's a pretty cool looking crash, actually. Looks like an old, early 2000s IDM experimental music.
Is it still going?
Record cover. No, it's not.
I mean, it's.
Hi, Lori,
shit.
says Trisha. Trish, do you go by just Trish or is it Trisha? I don't want to get your name wrong because you're always in the chat. She says hi.
Hi. Oh, I'm disappointed though. Streets of Rage 2. That was my pick. Well, what's the other one? Ganryu. Let's play the other weird Japanesey one.
So we had another game that I think you guys are going to really like. Oh, now it's animating. Wait. Look.
It was already doing that.
It stopped again though.
I know.
Strange. Okay. So we have to actually restart the whole Pandora's box system.
Which sounds so good. It's the best part. Have you played the cool startup sound for everybody?
No.
Oh, God, it sounds so good. I love it.
Yeah, so here's the weird intro screen for this illegal bootleg arcade machine.
Well, the hardware itself is not illegal. It's packing it with the ROMs and shipping it to you. So you had to go and download them, and then you found like some ultimate MAME compilation of like 3,000 games unorganized.
Yeah. So someone else released a ROM set that's compatible with this system. They really curated their own ROM set.
Pandora box. Sex. Dream never ends.
Oh, it's so good. It gets me so hyped. You are gonna get arrested for watching this. We have a Stingray. It's transmitting everything to the cops.
No,
right
you know what
now.
I wonder though? I bet you there's some dumb rule on YouTube, or like if you're probably saying openly something's like you don't own it. I bet it's against the rules.
Really?
Yeah, I mean there's such dumb arbitrary rules on YouTube.
Well,
Here it's on the beat 'em ups.
oh, okay.
I'll find it.
Yeah, this
So-
one I didn't even play this one yet, so I'm gonna be even worse at it.
Yeah, Lori watched me play this one last night while we were trying to come up with games to play.
Really good.
Bummed out that Streets of Rage. I was starting to really dig Streets of Rage too.
Oh, there's a Hook game we could have played.
You want to see how bad that is?
I think didn't we watch a video
No,
game
we
nerd
should see
about
how,
it?
let's just check it out, see how bad it
Okay,
is. It's
fine.
another beat 'em up. Okay, so we're gonna play the Hook.
I hope I can be Smee.
Hook, which doesn't look anything like the movie. So I don't know if is it a licensed game? I mean, are you Rufio?
It looks enough like the movie.
Okay, here. We're gonna play Hook
Yeah.
for you guys because it's been a curiosity of ours. We haven't tried it yet.
I hope you start out as Peter Panny. Does anyone remember the Hook movie?
I do.
I loved it as a kid, and then I watched this and I don't realize what garbage it was. Okay.
Some guy says.
Ooh.
Pietro says, notice how most games are violence and nothing about social change or growing a garden or something like that.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, when it comes to arcade games, you got to give them some slack because they're all trying to be basically immediately playable, and they're just all action based. I mean, besides like puzzle games, this is awful.
Is that tobacco?
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna turn up the sound for this weird game for you guys here.
Can I climb this? I can't even climb this crap?
No.
Oh, what a piece of garbage. Sorry.
Wait, there's there's TikTok in the background. Look.
Aw. I want to see how Dustin Hoffman
Oh,
is
I guess I can
rendered.
kick this. Look.
Oh, fun! Oh, it's like the new Mortal Kombat, like Injustice stuff. But
I mean, it
shitty.
has arguably nicer graphics than Streets of Rage, but I can already tell it plays like shit compared to Streets of Rage.
Music is like that depressing kind of
Yeah.
music.
When it comes to beat 'em up games,
Okay.
when it comes to beat 'em up games, I feel like there's just not much you can do with them. So if they don't have too many interesting qualities to them, or they're not, or the gameplay is not
Ooh, I
really
can stomp on
solid,
people.
you can
That's-
stomp on them.
I don't think I would let my kids play this
Wait.
game. This was
Where do you stomp on
contemporaneous.
them?
You stomp on them when they're on the ground and you press kick near them.
Where's kick? I didn't even know
I
there is
don't
a
know.
kick.
There's a lot of fun interactive stuff like in the map to distract you from what a garbage pile of game is.
This game sucks.
Yeah. All right. Well, now the
Here, don't-
mystery's been removed.
All right, guys. So that was Hook.
Now we'll play a good game.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed Hook. That music's really weird. Listen to that. Wait, look at it. It's like a prog rock John Williams Hook theme.
But with a little bit of like a sea shanty vibe.
Wait, what?
What?
Wait, like we didn't walk out the level soon enough, so.
So a bird came?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right.
All right, so we're done with this
Yeah.
pile of shit.
Sorry.
Steven Spielberg fucked up.
Was that Steven? Oh my God, you're right.
Okay, let's see.
It's GAN.
Hey, how's it going? So, before we go to the next game, I wanted to throw this subject to you guys. Has anybody here been watching Fox
hey,
News
Colin.
since the Iran stuff? Hey, how's it going? Has anybody here started watching?
Have you played Dead Connection yet? Let's play Dead Connection.
No. You want to play Dead Connection?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So, Lori, this is one of the game. You pressed the wrong
Why do
button.
I always do that?
I don't know. Just let me do it. This is one of Lori's favorite games that we've played so far. It's called Dead Connection. I don't know who made it. Do we know what company made this game?
Data East.
No, it's not Data East.
Data East made some of my favorite terrible games. Data East.
Where is it? Where'd it go?
I don't know. I'm usually the one who fucks up.
Okay,
so.
well then I guess we'll go your method now.
Ganryu. There we go.
Okay, so this is an interesting game. This is kind of like in the style of Smash TV, kind of, because it's like one room shooter, but it's themed around like the Prohibition era or something, right? What did you say? It's like Smash TV with gangsters and Tommy guns.
It's so tiny, I can't tell the
Okay.
aesthetic, but it's in like a fancy ballroom, and you just get to shoot the fuck out of like everybody, and then I don't know, it's just like over the top.
Yeah.
It's like the climax of a John Carpenter film.
Yeah. So here we go. We're gonna play Dead Connection. We've got one more game that we wanted to play for you guys. We'll get to that. But before I get too distracted, I wanted to get your guys' opinions on what you think's going on over at Fox News right now. And if you've noticed how many appearances they have from actual think tank neocons right now over at the network. Because today, I think for maybe the 6th or 7th time in this week, I just randomly tuned on to Fox News right before we started this broadcast, and they had on another Foundation for Defense of Democracy's neoconservative, talking about the need to support the Iranian people. Of course, that's always their go-to line whenever there's protests happening. But I thought one of the funniest pieces of rhetoric that came out from this guy, this Foundation for Defense of Democracy spokesperson, was that the reason the protests are happening in Iran is because the people are fed up with Soleimani wasting the country's money on all these military endeavors to try to like prop up their military foreign policy. So just let that sink in for a second, how ridiculous that rhetoric is. That a neocon will be saying that the reason Iranians are protesting is because they're upset that their country's spending too much money on their military. So it's implying several things. It's implying that Iran actually has like a serious endeavors going on outside their borders militarily, and that they have this huge military budget, which we already know is not true. And then it's also implying that he believes that people have the right to and should protest that that's a legitimate form of resistance and protest, which is also fucking hilarious, because no neocon would ever say that about anybody here protesting our military expenditures. So it's an obvious double standard, but it's also just weird how Fox News, like, once again, just like during the Bush era, is the network pushing for war in Iran the most. Yeah, listen to this music.
We should at least play through this level.
Yeah. You mean without talking?
No, just before we get bored.
So yeah, what do you guys think of this game? I like it. I like games with tiny sprites where the animations are still good, where it's like really curated, nice pixel art. This has those tiny sprites where there's no faces on the characters, and that always really fucking appealed to me as a kid. Something about that aesthetic of a faceless, blank, miniature, like human character was badass. Other games like that, the original NES for Contra, Castlevania, sort of infamously Simon Belmont and all the characters in the game that have human faces just have sort of blanked out faces. And also people have mistaken the original NES game Rygar for a Konami game, because the character in the game also has that same aesthetic where it's like a miniature sprite with a blank face. And I don't know why I really dug that when I was a kid. I think I even drew people, like made drawings of video game characters and stuff with no faces. Probably pull out some weird drawing I made when I was a kid. Yes, I saw that, Andy Miller. That Mike Baker guest appearance on Joe Rogan. Fascinating, of course, because Joe Rogan just had on Eddie Bravo again, one of his favorite guests, to talk about how he thinks QAnon is totally real. And there's actually a clip that the Joe Rogan program made of Eddie Bravo saying that QAnon is solely real. So yeah, it's sort of a weird juxtaposition when you have Joe Rogan bringing on a QAnon pushing guest, and then the next day, like a literal CIA spook shill, basically pushing Iran war propaganda. He definitely has an interesting guest spread over there. But that Mike Baker interview, I watched maybe 20 minutes of it, and I just realized actually something. Now that I can play with 2 players with Lori on this, it's a lot easier for me to talk because I know Lori's going to pick up the slack and shoot people while I'm not paying attention. So thank you, Lori. But what was I just saying? Yeah, there's actually a clip that they already made on YouTube for his program where Mike Baker is his name, says that he thinks that the Iranian plane shoot down was accidental, but that they thought it was enemy aircraft. Now, there's an interesting moment in there where he almost seems to let it slip what probably actually happened there. So, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit and suggest that Iran had probably a really good reason for shooting down a passenger airliner plane filled with many Iranians to think that it was an enemy aircraft. That's a pretty big deal to take the risk to shoot down one of your own passenger airliners. So, there are several things that could be happening here. Either the missile defense system that shot the plane down, that the person operating it was given false information, that the missile defense system itself purposely or was malfunctioned and shot the plane down through some kind of backdoor hack or takeover of the system. Another possibility is that the Boeing plane was deliberately sending a false transponder signal indicating that it was some kind of enemy aircraft. Now, if that last thing is true, that would also imply some kind of cyber attack. We already know that the Mossad in the United States has been doing a great deal of cyber attacks on Iran. I mean, Stuxnet's one of the most famous forms of cyber warfare that we've ever heard about. Of course, besides Russiagate, if you believe Russiagate, because that's the new 9/11, everybody, is the idea that Russia apparently hacked the DNC.
Can you stop shooting me?
Am I shooting you?
Yeah, you keep shooting me.
Wait, but does it actually hurt you?
I think that.
I don't think I can hurt you.
Oh, maybe you can't.
No, it doesn't hurt you.
Sorry, you were talking about Stuxnet?
Yeah, I mean, Stuxnet is one of the most over-the-top examples of cyber espionage, cyber war ever done, and yet we're supposed to look at Russiagate now as like the main thing, right?
I heard the U.S. Stuxneted that plane.
Who said that?
some joker.
Who said that? What's her name?
You have a good point.
Oh, you have a good point.
No, we'd Stuxnet the factory that made the plane. That's what we would do.
Yeah, I mean, just think about how ridiculous Stuxnet was, first of all. Stuxnet was a program that was happening simultaneously with the Israeli Mossad being given a free pass and free license to literally car bomb scientists in Iran, including with children in the car. I mean, think of how fucking crazy that is. You thought Munich was crazy? Like the plot of them going after all the people who are affiliated with the Black September group after the Olympics hostage taking? You thought that was crazy? Well, look into the nuclear scientist assassination program. But yeah, I think it was funny that Mike Baker on this Joe Rogan program actually almost seemed to let it slip why he thought the Iranians would have accidentally done something like this. Because he openly says he thinks it was an accident. So why would the Iranians make such a why would they do something so stupid? Another interesting aspect of that, and then someone actually brought this to my attention in the chat because I wasn't paying attention to the news continuously, but the Iranian government actually admitted that the plane was accidentally shot down by them. Now, you could see that and be like, well, no, that's an admission that they accidentally shot it down. It was a mistake. That means that there was no shenanigans going on there. But at the same time, it actually would have been smart for the Iranian government to just admit that immediately out of the gates to diffuse the situation, unlike what Russia did with MH17. However that plane was actually shot down, MH17, the Russian government did like a full-out denial, blanket denial that they had any that the Buk hit it, that the Russian separatists had anything to do with that. The Iranian government, I think, made a smart move by admitting immediately that they had something to do with it. Now, that could also mean that they know that somehow the system was backdoored, either the plane transponder or the missile defense system, and that they also want to save face by not admitting that they were cyber attacked at the same time by the United States or some sort of outside agency. That would also make sense. Now, since we really don't know what happened, it's mostly all speculation. But there's also some other interesting reports about the person who filmed the plane being shot down. Because first of all, that's an odd thing that someone managed to catch on camera the moment a plane took off from the runway and was shot down. That's maybe a 20, 30-second window. So, I don't know, Lori, do you think that that's odd that someone managed to catch it on camera?
Yeah, I mean, well, in today's world, like everything is, like there's footage of like literally everything.
Yeah, but how often does someone film just a random plane taking off from an airport?
I mean, that it's strange. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like they. Well, it'd be weirder if they filmed like a whole car full of people watching it take off and then cheering when it exploded. That would be way.
I
I
get the reference.
I couldn't explain it.
I get the reference. Yeah, but there's actually apparently also another camera angle too. So you're done?
Yeah.
So we're done with what was this game called again?
Dead Connection.
Dead Connection.
Such a sexy name.
Now, one of the problems with this Pandora's box system, and I was explaining this to Lori before we started, is that the attract mode on the games that actually like show the credits and who made them and stuff aren't accessible on here because the game automatically deposits a credit. Now, when you deposit a credit in an arcade game, it usually ends the attract mode screen. Oh, Taito. Okay, we got our answer there. Taito.
Oh, Taito made
Yeah.
it? Oh, cool.
Taito, also the makers of classic game Bubble Bobble and Puzzle Bobble, which is also known as Bust a Move. Fantastic puzzle game. We should play that at some point, too. Let me just check the time, see how long we've been going.
Bust a Move gets hard, though.
So we've only been going for 45 minutes. You guys have any questions for us in the chat? Just going to take a pause here and just chat with you guys. Obnobs wants Narc. I know, man. I know. I do, too. I promised that we would possibly do Sonic Arcade today. That didn't work out. Narc is coming soon also. I just need to get MAME working on a PC system with an actual real processor and not this Raspberry Pi bullshit. So as soon as I get that working,
What is
figured
this
out.
cute little version of Tetris?
I don't know. What was the other game called? So we're gonna play Ganryu. We're gonna play a game called Ganryu. I think it's made by SNK, but I'm not sure. Should we just turn it on and see who? Yeah, let's turn it on.
Yeah.
Let's not put a credit in yet and see if there's an attract mode so we can figure out who actually made this game. Visco.
Visco. Made by a Visco girl?
John, I do not play games like Call of Duty. The only first-person shooter I really got into recently was Doom, the new Doom game made by Bethesda, which was pretty cool. But I think it kind of betrayed the original Doom formula. This is going to sound really nerdy and sort of really obscure for people who haven't played it. But if you know the original Doom, there's just incessant enemies coming at you. It's like a maze of enemies constantly coming at you. And the new Doom game, there's this sort of weird progression throughout the levels where you have to destroy the enemy nest for these little parts of the level. So like when you destroy all the enemies in the nest, then you can move on to the next area in the level, and it makes it feel like this weird sort of truncated. We are making these steps through the level. It doesn't really feel like a Doom game to me. But it's a bummer because in every other aspect it does. They really nailed the formula. It's almost a really good game, but I don't know why they had that weird sort of monster nest formula in the game. It really ruins it for me. Adam G, I'm not familiar with what Easter eggs you're talking about in Doom. Did I jump in too slow here?
What?
Oh wait.
Oh, I can't play.
This is not two players at the same time.
Really?
Oh wait a second. Hold on.
You sure?
Let's go back here. I can't pause this for some reason. Okay.
Oh.
Maybe we have to select two players once we start. Oh, so just some Warren breaking news that just happened.
Nope, it's just one player.
Okay, so
One
you
player
want to play?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lori's gonna play this. Here, why don't we switch?
Okay.
Yeah, so this game's really cool. I'm surprised this didn't. Well, not surprised it didn't get a home release because one of the themes on this show has been showing amazing games that don't get home releases, which is a bummer. And this is one of those games for sure. This game is absolutely fucking awesome. This is Lori's first time playing it as well. She watched me play last night. Bungie's first game, the final boss was a giant Saddam head? That's fucking sucks,
Wait, where
dude.
do we have that? Can we play
No,
that?
but Bungie, give me some backstory on Bungie. Are they the company that originally made
Shit.
I know, didn't they make a first-person shooter for Mac that was really popular? It was a Mac company.
This game is hard.
Yeah, what was that first person? They did Halo. Okay. But what did they make before Halo? I thought they weren't they making stuff like in the mid 90s? Anyways. No, I didn't see Bill Maher's critique of Bernie Sanders on Rogan, Andy. I tried to watch most of that actually. Oh, so now you're on the two-player side? We'll just go back to one-player mode on it. Here, why don't we start it and do one-player mode? Then you can just keep playing when you die. Here.
Oh, my favorite button.
Yeah. Yes, Marathon, exactly. Yeah. I liked Marathon. I remember that being a decent game when it came out. Yeah, I mean, I hate Bill Maher as well, obviously, for many reasons. Mostly the fact that he's an Islamophobe. But I tried watching most of that interview on Joe Rogan, and actually one of the things that initially struck me about it was that Bill Maher hasn't been even remotely charming on his show or on television in decades. He just comes off as an annoying, scripted, smarmy cunt with barely anything interesting to say. On the Joe Rogan show, I was sort of reminded that, oh, this guy's still kind of a little bit charming. Like, I remember sort of why I dug him back when I was like a teenager or maybe like in my early 20s a little bit. I feel like I'm not making any excuse for him here, but having a long format seems to be way better for him in terms of just actually making him seem like he's not a total hack. Because Bill Maher comes off in his real-time show as a fucking hack. His monologues are painful. I mean, they make... I don't know if anybody here has seen the Larry Sanders Show, but sometimes when Lori and I are watching the Bill Maher Show monologues, we're like, this is literally worse than a Larry Sanders monologue.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, it's just as cringe as one. Oh yeah, the Ben Affleck moment on Bill Maher was one of the best things ever. That's why I included it in a very heavy agenda. Hey, I think my mom just joined up the chat. How's it going?
Hey, Sue.
This is fun. This is cool that you guys are all in here on a Saturday. But what did you think of his appearance
I need to get better
on
at
Joe
sliding.
Rogan? Tell me what you thought of it. But I actually didn't see what his critique of Bernie was. So what did he actually say? I'm curious what he had to say about him. Because he seemed to actually be really supportive of Bernie on a recent episode of Real Time that got him into some trouble, I thought. Be nice to my mom, guys. I know you're just joking around. She's a really nice lady.
Wait, what are they saying to your mom?
No, someone just trying to make jokes about MAGA moms or something. Yeah, you know, Trish, I definitely do have a stronger stomach than a lot of people. Even my mom can attest to this. That I listen. She gets mad at the fact that I listen to a lot of Fox News and right wing talk radio. But as you know, the art of war, you need to know your enemy to wage war. I mean, I think it surprises me actually how more people on the left do not consume right wing media for the same reason that I do, because I learn a lot from listening to Sean Hannity. I mean, I seriously do. Even though he's a total psychopath, it fascinates me. And especially right now on Fox News, you're getting a really direct insight into how they could, if they wanted to, flip a switch overnight and go straight back to the Bush era. And we'd be in for some really scary times. Now, I guess the only saving grace right now about that is that CNN and MSNBC are not fully on board with the Fox News narrative right now. They are poking holes in the Iran war rhetoric coming out of Fox News. So that's the only good sign that I see. But what you've seen is Fox News stunting. What?
There's a Judge Dredd game.
Yeah, play that.
Playing it right
Play
now.
Judge Dredd. So Judge Dredd, in case anybody hasn't played this pretty awful game, was made right after Mortal Kombat 1 by Midway. I don't think Ed Boon or any of the people involved in Mortal Kombat actually worked on it, but there's Goro all over the game. They actually used the sprite from Goro from Mortal Kombat as like a pet. Oh, it's a digitized game. So this game looks like, if you saw a screenshot of this game, you'd be like, holy shit, that looks like a Mortal Kombat classic, like digitized game. That's the kind of games that excite me. I know people hated digitized graphics. But I actually love them. So like I really dig games like Lethal Enforcers 2, Narc, Terminator 2, which is kind of a combo of digitized and drawn. I mean, Mortal Kombat 2 is kind of a similar game. It's a combo of digitized and drawn as well. Barbara, go to bed, babe. Barbara, go to bed.
Whoa, everybody looks like the guy from Poison.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not supposed to kick that little lady.
You're not supposed to
walking
kick the lady,
monster?
yeah. So what do you guys
It's
think
like
of
a
this
bomb.
pile of
Oh, I
shit?
want that. Ugh. Oh my god, this looks so bad.
Surrender, creep.
Fuck.
Remember that time Jesse Ventura was on Sean Hannity bad-mouthing the 9/11 Commission and Hannity was forced to agree that the 9/11 Commission sucked? I actually don't remember that. That's kind of funny because I could see someone like Ventura alphaing Sean Hannity just from sheer sort of rhetorical power and intimidation. But I'd be really surprised if Sean Hannity would ever say that like without Jesse Ventura there standing in front of him.
Oh.
This is a
Do I have to
really
kick the
weird ass
rats?
game.
I have
Yeah.
to kill the rats? I don't like this game.
Why does Judge Dredd walk like he's like a really big fat guy or something? You see that?
Because he is. I
But
don't
why
know.
do they make him look like
All
that?
that
Watch him
armor?
walk.
Well,
He walks like he's a overweight cop.
yes. Kicks like
It's an
one
interesting walk style they gave him.
too. Oh.
Ventura is generally great. I was fairly disappointed when he did that conspiracy show on True TV when he got into the Judy Wood space beams paradigm on 9/11. I've said this before on the podcast. I think there were people around him at that time who were giving him very bad advice on which 9/11 truthers to take seriously, and he chose a particularly bad one in that particular instance. I mean, so bad that I don't know if Jesse Ventura is the best emissary anymore for 9/11 truth. But I still really respect him. I still think that what he did to expose Chris Kyle is great. I mean, Chris Kyle basically ran a psyop against him to destroy his reputation. A link to what, Obnobs? Obnobs is asking for a link. Judges are fat, says Frosty Busket. So that, I mean, that could explain
Oh,
why
it's because
Judge...
he's a judge.
Yeah.
It's not because of the future.
That would be actually really funny if Judge Dredd were they're just like a bunch of fat guys who looked like judges, but like could
Yeah.
kill
Who
you.
talked like Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, like look. Remember we went. So Lori and I actually went to the Supreme Court with Susan Martin, my mom, who's just in here. It was one of the weirdest experiences ever. We actually went. You can go in D.C. walk into the back of the Supreme Court and look at all those decrepit old mummy motherfuckers slouching on their chairs, listening to the final arguments in a hearing. And it's really surreal to actually see them in session. I mean, they all looked like they didn't want to be there. They looked bored out of their minds. And I guess it's a lifetime appointment, right? So what do they could, what's his name? I was just going to say the guy who died. No, not the guy who died. Like John Roberts could be there picking his nose in the Supreme Court, and what can anybody do about it?
I'm sure there's ways that they could like embarrass them.
This is a good question for the chat. Does anybody know if there is there anything that could disqualify a Supreme Court judge from being allowed to serve out the rest of their term? Is there any kind of law breaking? Like if they committed, for example, a misdemeanor or a felony, or if John Roberts took his dick out in public, does that mean that he would be fired from the Supreme Court? I'm just totally asking this question in the chat because I have no idea.
Sorry, this is such a shit game. I have to stop playing it.
Play a game that you actually like. Okay. And if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna let Lori play as we close out this episode. Karnov's Revenge is a hard-ass Data East game. You want to see a hard-ass game?
I mean...
Anybody played Karnov? Or no, not Karnov's Revenge. No, never mind. That's a different game that I was thinking. Okay. The original Karnov, though, if anybody's played that game, that is a hilarious... No, this game is not good. This is not the game I was talking about.
Oh.
This is a fighting game version of Karnov. So it's weird. They actually made fighting game versions of Double Dragon and Karnov for Neo Geo. And Karnov and Double Dragon were both side-scroller and a beat-em-up. Karnov is an extremely difficult side-scroller by Data East that's actually like really, really creative. I wouldn't say it's a great game or even a very good game, but I will definitely say it's extremely creative. I recommend playing it at some point. I used to play it for the original NES. I didn't know it was even an arcade game when I was a kid. They can be impeached, I think. Constitution has a during good behavior clause. Yeah, what is the protocol for impeaching a Supreme Court justice? Has it ever even happened before?
I mean, clearly, like the only thing in our lifetimes that was like super controversial was the Clarence Thomas shit.
But he didn't get him. That was his appointment.
Yeah,
that was a hearing.
He was fine.
What the fuck is this? Oh no,
we love this game.
This game is pretty weird and pretty goddamn good. So check out Boogie Wings by Data East 92, guys. Lori and I played this a couple nights ago. So a Catch 22 says people brought that up in regards to Kavanaugh. Someone brought up the Kavanaugh rape allegations. Well, all that stuff only came out in the hearings. But yeah, what happens once, like, if it's discovered, if a videotape comes out of Kavanaugh literally raping someone at a frat party comes out now, undeniably it's him. What happens? Does he have to step down? So someone says you can impeach a Supreme Court judge. I would like to know how that's possible and if there's any legal precedent for that. Has any Supreme Court judge ever had to or ever been impeached? Henceforth, I was one of those weirdos with a Saturn. Did you ever play Fighting Vipers? Fuck yes, I played Fighting Vipers. The Sega Saturn is one of the best systems ever made. One of the most underrated systems ever. It came out before the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1. So people, I think, didn't really give it a fair shot. The graphics, in a lot of ways, were inferior to even the PlayStation. But I would argue that something about the Saturn's 3D graphics were more pleasurable looking. It had kind of a more granulated pixelation that looked more right on the eyes. I never liked the way PlayStation looked. Sega Saturn also had some of the best Japanese games ever. I mean, they had all of the Capcom fighting games came out for their system. It came with an extra RAM cartridge that you can buy to stick in the top of the Sega Saturn to be able to instantly load games. So you eliminated a bunch of the loading time in games like Darkstalkers, X-Men vs. Street Fighter for the Sega Saturn. This RAM cartridge enabled to have all the full animation frames and no loading times, and actually was superior to the PlayStation 1 releases of them. UN Squadron, I think, Ahmet, it is on this thing. So I'll definitely, we'll play that at some point. There's actually a game on here called NATO Command that's like a terrible, what the fuck, is that a pterodactyl? So, yeah, have you guys seen this really bizarre game? Lori hasn't done it yet, but you can actually jump out of your plane and run on the ground and shit in this game. It's very bizarre. Andrew Rojas says, loved Crusader No Remorse on Sega Saturn. I actually don't know what that game is. I didn't even ask you guys this time, but how is the audio level? Is the music for the game or sound too loud compared to us talking? What do you think?
Oh, man.
What, did you die?
Get in that.
Can you get in it?
I don't know how to jump out.
Maybe
of
you
this
have to
plane.
hook it.
No, I think I need to get out of this plane.
So this game has this bizarre mechanic of there's like a hook like hanging out of your
I wanna get
airplane
in. I wanna get in
and like
that.
a spike ball. You can like pick up things with this.
See, I picked up a little guy.
It says you're quiet, but that's fine.
Well, yeah, I'm just over here.
But how's the
Boogie.
okay? So the sound is good balance. Okay, good.
Oh yes, I want to get in
I'm
something.
gonna watch you play this for a second.
I just want to get.
Oh, I can play.
Yeah, it's too
Oh
quick.
fuck yeah! I don't think we've actually done. Oh what? Fuck! Shut!
Yep. Good luck.
I kind of get the goddamn horse. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, my mic.
I wanna pick
This
up
game is a
shit.
beautiful mess. I don't even know what's going on.
You just shoot everything, and it's all
Yeah.
these like idyllic settings. Like
So
you
you-
go to a science museum in like Detroit Rock City.
You have a better memory than me. I wouldn't even remembered what this game was called.
Well, I saw the menu.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Oh, well, no, I remembered what it called.
Okay.
I mean, this was so.
So we're just
unique.
blowing up a ride.
Yeah, we're just blowing up an
See,
amusement
look at
park.
now I'm on the ground. Look at this shit.
How do
I'm
I
this
get
dude
out?
jumping. I don't think you can until your plane blows up.
Somebody blow up my plane.
Oh wait, you have me now.
Great. Oh
Wait,
no.
hook me.
I can. My
Wait.
ship blew up. Let's kill all these demons. Well,
I don't know what they are.
I
Now
thought
you're in
this-
like a graveyard or something. But now I'm back in the plane.
Ooh,
Wait,
I
now
want
I
that.
can get it.
I want that.
Oh
Yes.
shit! Now I'm hooking you.
No, let me go.
I don't know how. There you go. Get back
Oh.
in. So we're just killing a haunted house?
Yeah.
What the fucking hell is this game? This is a very interesting game. So I have hooked a motorcycle to me right now. But I don't know what for. Oh, so I can unhook it. So I've hooked you. What the fuck?
I got out of my thing. You took my thing.
No, I didn't take it. You're in there still. Oh, no, now you're in a motorcycle.
I'm in a motorcycle. You can get in my mech suit.
Whoa, shit.
Get in my mech suit.
Whoa, I'm
Yeah.
shooting missiles.
Really, just so maximalist.
Someone said you guys are bombing people like true Americans.
Yeah, it's a very nationalistic game. I thought it was American, isn't it? Or no?
I know, I
It's
don't think
dating.
so. I mean, almost every good game ever made is Japanese. Let's just be honest. But no, I want to do an episode for you guys where I show you only games that are extremely politically problematic. If all the games I haven't shown you are problematic enough for you, I will show you ones that are far more problematic, where the games revolve around beating up people of color, just blowing away brown people, killing Native Americans. There's plenty of terrible, politically problematic games made. They're even worse than the ones I've been showing you so far. So one of the episodes, I'm actually going to specifically go through
Oh, I wanna
all
get
those
in that.
games. I don't think you can once you're in the tank. I don't know how to play this game. It's being totally
think it
honest.
matters.
Yeah. They really give you a lot of leeway too. It feels like you don't die very much.
Yeah, there's
Like
a lot
the
of sprites
collision.
that are like
Yeah.
not harmful. Oh, I'm getting that shit.
Thoughts on Daddy Vladdy's new plans for Russia? I don't know. I have almost no thoughts whatsoever on that. I don't pay attention to Russian politics very much. Oh, that's an interesting thing, John. So many Islamophobic games made in Flash after 9/11. It was so disgusting. Maybe I can do an episode of MAME Politics when I run out of arcade games where I play some of those. If you remember where any of those are, or what they were called or anything, I'd like to check out some of those.
Am I an indivisible? I mean, like a little.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
I would say this game had a Metal Slug vibe to it, but it doesn't.
No.
It's like a.
It's like Metal
It's its
Slug for
own-
toddlers.
Yeah, it's like its own aesthetic.
ROTC Metal Slug. For
I
children.
just don't get it.
Like,
I
was
mean,
that
I
even something we
love
were
it.
supposed to shoot at, or was that
I
just
don't
like a
know.
moving
I
background?
don't know. Why is all this lightning flying out of my plane the whole time?
It's just like a special thing.
But does
Mine
it
does
hurt
too.
everybody around
Yeah,
you?
it's so your weapon is too powerful.
I don't get it. Because I mean,
No.
does that mean it just so you just have a shield around you the whole time?
Yeah.
Weird. So I rescued that little hostage, and then I dropped her on top of the
Now
blimp.
she's gonna die.
Yeah, she's just gonna fly off
Yep.
into space.
Democracy in action. Ooh, I want to get one of those. Oh, you got one. This game has a lot of transitional, nothing going on, but very good looking moments.
Yeah. Wait, now we're inside. Oh, dude, this is great. Now we're inside the blimp. See, this is whoever programmed this game is kind of a genius, or whatever team worked on this. This definitely deserved a home release. I don't care how weird it is and confusing. It's just a spectacle. It's kind of like what game was I playing yesterday for you guys where I said it's beautiful to look at but a shitty game? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Did I blow myself up?
Oh, dude, that's so good. Wait, what? I can get on the... You're on the elephant!
Yep.
Wait, this is like anti-gravity? Wait, the fuck? This
I don't think I've ever done this part of
No,
it.
the-
We went to like a different
Okay, this is
level.
what's called a MAME
Get in that
emulation
mech
error.
suit. Get in that mech suit.
I'm trying to. So this is definitely MAME is not handling this part properly because it's obviously supposed to just look like the ship is like going back and forth.
I think we're in like zero gravity.
We are, but look at the split screen in the middle. It's not supposed to look like
Well,
that.
maybe the ship's breaking apart. It's like
No.
shearing forces. Maybe
No,
it's
this is
hyper
This is a
realistic.
MAME error. Definitely a MAME error happening here.
Okay, fine.
So, I guess this just randomly popped into my head. A really funny comedian that I really like, named Tim Dillon, followed me on Twitter recently and then just unfollowed me. And I think it might have had something to do with how much I was going after Ricky Gervais for his Golden Globes monologue. I'm just totally guessing. I think Tim Dillon's hilarious. One of the funniest dudes out there. But I want to know if you guys share my opinion on Ricky Gervais. I mean, do you think that that Golden Globes performance was a really legitimate form of sticking it to the Hollywood elites? Or is that kind of more on the phony side, what he did? Because one could make the argument that he is a Hollywood elite, highly dependent on Hollywood. And so I just thought that was strange that people were sort of like, oh, dude, look at this. He's sticking it to them. But then additionally, him being anti-PC or whatever doesn't just end at being like anti-PC culture. He's also like one of those Sam Harris Islamophobes as well. And Ricky Gervais sits on the board of Sam Harris's think tank that Christopher Hitchens was also a board member of, and that Majid Nawaz, UK government-funded propagandist, sat on, called Project Reason. So I just wanted to get your guys' take on that. Did you know that already about Gervais? Does it matter to you?
No.
Does it not affect your ability to enjoy his comedy? And also, let's just assess his comedy too. do you think Ricky Gervais has been funny since Extras? Because I don't think he has been. I think that pretty much everything he's done after Stephen Merchant and him stopped collaborating has been absolute trash. Life's Too Short, Derek.
Embarrassing.
It's kind of shocking, actually, how much he's fallen as a comedian. So I'm just wondering, besides that monologue, if you thought that monologue was funny, do you still think his other material is funny that he's putting out? Because I mean, I have to acknowledge, I thought his old stuff was hilarious. It's brilliant. His newer stuff, I'm kind of confused by why he's got turned into such a hack.
Are you ready to shoot up the Science Museum with me?
So someone says they think he's a Hollywood elite. Gervais is a blowhard, still funny. Never heard of him until this year. Really?
Wow.
I mean, actually, that makes me feel good.
Someone's on a media diet, though.
Well, another interesting thing about Gervais is that he actually Twitter searches his own name regularly to go after people who don't think he's funny. And his response to people who say they don't think he's funny is to talk about how rich he is and how much money he makes off of his stand-up comedy. Now, he's actually done this to me on 2 separate occasions. I never tagged him in a tweet. I never responded to him. And he literally name searched himself and sicked his followers after me on Twitter. Now, oddly, when a celebrity with millions of followers on Twitter tries to do that, usually where they sick their followers on you, you'll get inundated with notifications all day long, and it will become quite an annoyance. You'll almost have to like turn off your notifications. In this case, I was surprised that almost no one responded to it. So I just thought that was interesting. It's kind of like when Michael Che tries to dunk on Leslie Lee or Jack Allison on Twitter, and like no one ever responds to him or like goes after Leslie. And that's also another funny thing. Have you guys seen any of this inside baseball about the now head writer of SNL, Leslie Lee, constantly going after another comedian named Jack Allison because Jack Allison simply found a part in the SNL submission clause that shows that they can actually mine your entire social media account if you submit to SNL for jokes, and they're allowed to steal them from your entire body of work. This is in the SNL submission clause, that SNL has permission to literally go through any joke you've ever made on Twitter and steal it and use it for the show if you've merely submitted to them. Jack Allison pointed this out, and as soon as he did, Michael Che, the head writer on SNL, started to wage this weird Instagram war on him and talk about him every day on Instagram. And, you know, I thought it was really obvious to me that Jack had actually found out something newsworthy about SNL and their submission process that was really bad for artists and comedians out there. And Michael Che was not too happy about it. And is there anyone who can honestly say that SNL is good right now? I mean, it's probably at its lowest point that it's ever been. Alec Baldwin, do you think he's funny?
No.
Miss Trump?
Nope.
When is the last time you saw a funny SNL sketch, Lori?
Maybe that 80 Bryant doing Sarah Huckabee Sanders, where she was just like, I'm just really confident.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
I mean, even that was like mildly amusing.
Yeah.
Or like,
I like
Kate,
Melissa McCarthy.
I like
Sean
Kate
Spicer.
McKinnon's bug-eyed Hillary Clinton's, but it was tempered by the fact that she's obviously pro-Hillary.
Yeah. Oh, did you know she also used to date Barry Weiss?
Yes.
You did.
She has terrible taste in women, but I still think she's funny.
Yeah. So if you didn't know that already, Barry Weiss and what's her name? Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon from SNL used to date. So if you want any reason to hate Kate McKinnon, you just found it on this live stream.
Aw.
You just found it.
She's very talented, though. I mean, think of all the men that you enjoy watching on television. They probably have garbage taste in women, too.
Yeah. And I don't know when I can talk about it, but I've been hearing through the grapevine recently that a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but people you would be surprised by have actually fucked Richard Spencer.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I'll
like
tell you
dudes?
off air. No.
Oh, not that
dudes.
surprising.
No, someone we're both familiar with. But
Kate McKinnon?
not Kim McKinnon.
I'm kidding. Oh wait, is SNL like boosting Elizabeth Warren? I was like,
I don't know. Are they? What is SNL? Who is SNL boosting now? I mean, Larry David plays Bernie on SNL. And what's interesting to me about that is Larry David is actually cousins with Bernie Sanders.
Barry Weiss from Storage Wars. Is that the sad old man in Storage Wars? Is his name literally Barry Weiss? Like the really sad one?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I think that was a good episode.
You think
right?
we're donezo?
Think
Yeah.
so.
My eyes are watering. Isn't Chuck Lorre really close with the state of Israel?
Probably.
Probably.
I mean, he's such
yeah.
a douchebag.
I'm sure his politics are shite.
The U.S. is where cousins fuck and guns are bought. Says Propagander. And Propagander, no, I did not show my balls on today's podcast like I have on previous podcasts. My wife would not let me today.
That's not true. You didn't bring it up at all. Pull your balls out right now. I mean...
All right. Take care, guys. Hope you join us tomorrow for another episode of MAME Politics.
You're going to do this
9.
tomorrow?
Probably, yeah.
Aw. I
Yep.
won't be here.
All right. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Take care.